I was never really one for fighting games. I mean, I know that they're a huge genre in the world today, but I don't know. Maybe it's just I was never really very good at them, or I don't know. Maybe they just didn't interest me that much. But I never played the kind of classic kind of fighting games. I never played Mortal Kombat. I never played Super Smash Brothers. I never played one of the multiple Capcom games. It just wasn't really a genre that I was really that familiar with. The only one that I would fighting game that I think I truly had was one of the old games we had for our PS2 was X-Men The Next Dimension. It's only a fighting game where you could choose between the various kind of X-Men characters and the members of uh, the Brotherhood of Mutants and face them off against each other. Which, you know what, it was fun, but I was never very good at the game, and you know what, that's fair enough. But in these times of uncertainty, sometimes, even with video games, we need to get a bit of comfort food. So, I think I looked around and found that Injustice Gods Among Us was relatively inexpensive. So I paid for it, I installed it, I had a go at it, and you know what? I actually think this was pretty good. Now, pretty much anyone at the Met's familiar with Injustice, but let me just quickly fill you in. In an alternate universe, the Joker tricks Superman into killing what he thinks is Doomsday and flying him out into space. However, Superman actually ends up killing Lois Lane and their unborn child. And as a result of this, Superman is sent into an anger so fierce that he kills the Joker, simply by punching him through the chest. And while that's kind of bad enough, Superman then begins a totalitarian regime stating that anyone who doesn't believe or who doesn't listen to anything he says will be destroyed. And so this alternate world creates where, under Superman's totalitarian regime, everyone is ruled. Meanwhile, on another Earth, known as the Prime Earth, the heroes are brought over to the Injustice Earth in order to try and find a way to put a stop to things. And in this particular game, you get to play as a variety of different characters, including including ones from both the Prime Earth and the Injustice Earth, with a selection of characters that, hold on, that plays 12 different characters throughout the game, including two versions of Batman. Two versions of Batman: a Green Lantern, Aquaman, Joker, Green Arrow, Cyborg, Deathstroke, Lex Luthor, The Flash from the Injustice universe, Wonder Woman, and Superman. This game was previously released in 2013, and it has become something of a personal favourite amongst people, also launching a sequel and a comic line, which I actually did get the first volume of a couple of years ago. Which, now, the comic line does. I have seen that people do love the comic line and say there are some of their personal favourite moments in there in terms of comics. One particularly iconic moment I know comes in year 2 when it's revealed through a conversation between Harley Quinn and Black Canary that Harley actually had a daughter. Well, it's pretty sad to kind of watch her tell the story like, yeah, I had a daughter, but the Joker doesn't know about her because he never could have a daughter. You know, well, it's pretty sad to watch, but pretty sad to read, but it's also kind of fitting for her. But that's not the only thing that the game apparently did a lot more than just bring DC Comics characters into the fighting game genre. It also did affect a variety of things, including I've seen online that Ezra Miller's Flash suit in the DCEU was supposedly inspired by his suit in the Injustice game. To which, if you look at the Prime Earth Flash, and then look at Ezra Miller's Flash suit, you wouldn't think they look that much similar. But if you look at his Injustice world suit and then look at Ezra Miller, they do bear a striking resemblance. Now, am I the absolute best at the game? Absolutely not. But then the game was also very forgiving from what I found. I mean, in most of the battle, in quite a few of the battles, I was able to kind of eventually beat down the enemy kind of first time round. Very few of those. But then there were a lot more that I found that I would fight them and then get defeated on the first go round, but then win the second time. And I will admit there were a few that took me 3 or 4 tries before I finally managed to beat them. The battles that I found that were exceptionally hard was when I was playing as a hero and I was pitted up against the Injustice version of that particular hero. You've got a battle in there between two different versions of Aquaman. There's a battle between two different versions of Cyborg, two different versions of Batman, two different versions of Wonder Woman, and the final battle is, of course, between two different versions of Superman or Superman. And yeah, just those battles were a pain, namely because you're battling a hero with similar abilities and it's going to be a pain to get through. Those were the ones I remember repeatedly failing on. But then, while I can't say this for two-player mode if you're playing against a friend, but one thing that the story did that I found was rather forgiving and did lead me to enjoy the game was it seemingly had an inbuilt difficulty lowerer. Some people may have know this or found this already in the game, but if it senses that you are losing and kind of losing repeatedly, it kind of lowers the difficulty slightly with each one, which was why I found in quite a lot of circumstances that I would lose one match against someone and then lose one match against the character, but then in my next one I would start winning. I was just like, oh, did the game suddenly get easier? And I was like, well, technically it did. Which I did look up online if that was a thing and found many people have found the same thing. And in the end, yeah. It's so that you don't get discouraged from playing the game thinking, oh, this is too difficult now, I'm going to give up. To which I actually found after one match I had while playing as Deathstroke that when a thing popped up saying, okay, you've won 50%, you're now halfway through the game, I was like, oh, really? Oh, cool. Thinking that I never really gotten further than 50% in a... I never really got 50% in a fighting game before, but you know what? Well, it's a nice thing. It also... This game came out in 2013, and Arrow came out in 2012. Now, supposedly, there is a character in the game that's voiced by Stephen Amell, although I didn't hear him in the game. It might just be for certain points. Plus, the game did also have a very good cast list, including ones like Kevin Conroy and Neil McDonough, with Neil McDonough playing the Flash and Kevin Conroy once again portraying Batman. Which, yeah, he's the iconic voice of Batman at this point. I did think at first that Mark Hamill was also in the game voicing Joker, but then when I looked it up later, I found it actually wasn't him, which I feel is a little bit of a shame. But the actor they got, he does a pretty good impression. And I did, since this game came out in 2013, I did also get a few kind of Arrowverse vibes from it. For example, when you're playing as Green Arrow and you have to face off against Solomon Grundy and then Killer Frost, I was thinking, yeah, I mean, that might just be an effect of looking back on this game kind of after years of the Arrowverse. And also a big fight later on between the Flash and Green Arrow. I was just enjoying the hell out of it, just playing as the Flash beating down Green Arrow, and imagining, yeah, this is Grant Gustin facing down Stephen Amell once again. So, now, as I... God, I don't really know where to go from here. But yeah, I mean, I feel once I got through kind of 50% of the game, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I can go to the end of this, and you know what? Since it lowered the difficulty a little bit time every time I lost a fight, I actually did get to the end of it, and you know what? I feel it's a good game. I mean, I do feel it would be more fun with two people. If you had a mate round and playing as your two favourite characters facing off against each other, but for a story mode, I enjoyed it. I know I left it a bit long to get into the Injustice games, but you know what? I finally did because of the quarantine, and you know what? I loved it. So, yeah, that's my quick thoughts on Injustice Gods Among Us. Who knows? Maybe I'll pick up the second one at some point. But for the time being, it was a good game to play. Anyway, till next time. See ya.